My Years in Waconia by Edith Nagel Eisinger, Chapter 5. Because of the shortage of nurses during WW2, we decided to start our own nurses training program. I had local girls and girls from the country that wanted to learn something about nursing. They were wonderful girls. I don't know if we would have survived without them. I can't name all of them because I am afraid I would forget some of the names. So I'll just say they were all just wonderful, and they learned everything from giving bed baths, making beds with square corners, giving medications, doing all the jobs of nursing that were needed, right up to the scrubbing and setting up the operating room. The girls were very conscientious and very dedicated to doing the right thing. They took good care of the patients and really served us well. I'll just never forget them. They were a wonderful bunch of girls. We had quite a few over the 14 years that the nursing program was in force. They got most of their training on duty, although we did have classes. We had a room, the penthouse, over the hospital where we would meet probably 1 hour a day, usually at 7 o'clock. But if we got an emergency, that would have to be changed. They studied and learned the correct terminology and learned the correct dosages of different drugs, and they really were good students. Some of the girls stayed at their own homes, and for some, we provided living quarters. After we moved out of the hospital over the drugstore, those rooms were made available for the girls to live in. We had a house mother staying there because, with these good-looking girls, you could not leave them unsupervised. They needed a little guidance, and we did have a wonderful house mother that the girls seemed to like. We studied anatomy, obstetrics, mature genetics, pediatrics, and I will really say I learned more in teaching the girls than I did when I was a student at the Idle Hospital. It was very interesting to me. One cold December evening, doctor was called in the country. I knew the patient was pregnant, but did not expect her to deliver that soon. After he came back to the hospital, 2 to 3 hours later, he had a basket with 2 little babies in it. They weighed about 3 pounds each. He said he brought me something to keep me busy over Christmas so I wouldn't get lonesome. He said, "Put these in the incubator and take good care of them." I said, "I can't. When you were in the country, I delivered a set of twin baby girls and I've got them in the incubator." So he looked in the incubator and said, "Mine are smaller. Yours have got to be moved and mine go in the incubator." It really was the right thing to do, so we moved the other babies into bassinets, kept them warm with hot water bottles, and the little premature boys went into the incubator. They weighed just about 3 pounds each, and I knew they would require just about constant care. There was nothing to do but stay over in the hospital and care for them night and day. They had to be tube fed the first few days, and when they were a little bit stronger, they could drink using a Breck feeder, which has a bulb on the end. You press and help them with their nursing with this little Breck feeder. After we were able to get the mother's milk, they thrived and grew and became healthy babies. I think we kept them at the hospital until they weighed 5 to 5.5 pounds each when they were able to go home. It was quite a thrill to see them so strong and healthy that we could send them home to their parents. When the mother came in to get them, she had labels that she pinned on each one so she could tell who was who. They did look very much alike, but they were not identical twins. I had the privilege of seeing those men now. They are 47 years old and they weigh over 200 pounds each. I attended a golden wedding reception for the parents, and I really wanted to see the twins. I hadn't seen these premature babies for several years, and it was a thrill to see them again. We did have to get another incubator the next day for the other twins, and they survived too. That was always so rewarding to see your work was not all in vain. About the time I thought we were going to be able to relax and take it easy, Doctor would add another wing to the hospital. By the time we left in 1954, we had room for about 50 patients, and that was really too much to handle or take care of properly. But that is the way it was, and we were busy, busy, busy. Patients would come and you couldn't turn them down. One day, a young man was admitted to the hospital with a severe back injury from an accident. X-rays revealed that he had fractured some lumbar vertebrae, 2 or 3 lumbar vertebrae, which required a body cast. This man weighed probably 200 or more pounds and had to be put up on a steel frame in order for this cast to be applied. I wondered how in the world we were going to get him up on this frame to get the cast on. But this young man had 2 or 3 brothers, about the same size he was, and so I called them and asked them if they would come in and lift their brother up on this metal frame so we could apply the cast. They were very cooperative and came in and just like that, lifted him up on this frame and held him while Doctor applied the cast. Of course, he had to stay on that frame for a while so the cast could set, and then he was transferred to a fracture bed. He remained in the hospital for 7 weeks. It was quite a job to take care of him. I think the cast added an extra 100 pounds to him, so it took 2 or 3 nurses always to turn him or to give him bedside care. It was truly a feat to have him recover and see him walk around without pain, and it was wonderful to get his brothers to hold him on this frame. One day, the sheriff brought 4 children to us. They ranged in age from 9 years to 6 months. Apparently, the mother had gone on a trip and left this 9-year-old girl in charge of the smaller children. Apparently, a neighbor had reported this to the sheriff and a welfare worker. It was the weekend, so they brought these children to the hospital and asked if we could keep them for the weekend until arrangements could be made to place them, probably in foster homes. We had one room in the basement of the hospital that we put all 4 children in, and they were very happy there. As soon as the townspeople heard about it, they brought all kinds of toys and goodies for these children, and they probably never had so much fun as they did those few days with us. The parochial school was just across from the hospital, and the 2 older children could go over there and play on the swings and so forth. The baby and the younger child were well taken care of while this 9-year-old played. She probably had the responsibility of those children most of the time. One nurse in charge of the 4 children gave them their baths and dressed them. I came down to see them, and she had all 4 children in one big bathtub, which they really enjoyed. This huge tub could hold all of them, and they could splash around in there happily. It was a good way to get them all bathed at one time. They were removed then from the hospital, and I think the mother got them back, but there were certain conditions that she would provide for them.